Alrighty guys, we're back again and we're talking about this big red candle on Bitcoin and the cause for the big red candle on Bitcoin, and that is because the European Parliament, the European Union, took some votes today on the future of crypto, and we're going to look at the implications of what those votes were about and how bad this may be for crypto. We're also going to look at how long it's going to take to implement it if it does get passed, or what has been passed, and then we're going to talk about whether this red candle is actually warranted. So that's why I'm here. I'm here again for the third time today. I'm here for the third time today, bringing you crypto love and walking you guys through everything that is going on in the crypto market. So let's do this. Let's do this. Let's do this. I'm watching the comments and people are saying, how can you play get out of bed, bitch, go? This is a show about what the European Union and what the European Parliament did. And right now it's bedtime in Europe. It's almost bedtime in Europe. Well, I suppose if you're in crypto, you never sleep. And as you can see, I never sleep. I've been here since, I think 7 o'clock this morning. It's going on 10 o'clock tonight. But I thought I'd bring you guys an update, and that's because of what happened in Europe today. So listen, if you are new to the channel, subscribe to our channel. We are here 3, 4, 5 times a day, bring you crypto love and crypto wisdom. And we're here doing emergency streams when we think that the community needs some guidance. And that's exactly what this stream is about, because we were doing amazingly well. The Bitcoin price was doing amazingly well. We thought we'd get to new highs. We were touching 48 and 49,000. And then we had this big red candle, and it happened just after my stream, or during my stream. So when I started my stream earlier on today, we started the stream and we were waiting for the outcome of this vote that was happening in Europe. And during my stream, we got the outcome that the vote was actually approved. So until the vote was approved, there wasn't much to talk about, because it was something that was pending, and we didn't think it was going to be such a big thing. But after it happened, let's look at what actually happened and what the implications are of this legislation, which has now been voted in. So let's talk about where it started. It started a few days ago, where Patrick Hansen, who says he's one of these guys that focuses on Europe, and he came out and he said he calls himself Europe Head of Strategy for Unstoppable DeFi. So he's got quite a big role. He says, I hate to ring alarm bells again, but the EU Parliament leaves us no choice. And this time it's because they were cracking down on the KYC and AML, anti-money laundering procedures. And specifically in this case, what they were targeting a few things. The first thing they were targeting non-custodial wallets. Now, for those of you who don't know the difference between a custodial wallet and a non-custodial wallet, when you're on an exchange, that is a custodial wallet, and that means that usually you KYC, so the exchange has all your details. But this time, what European lawmakers are targeting is they're targeting non-custodial wallets. They're targeting your MetaMask. They're targeting the exchanges, your cold wallets, the ones that aren't owned by or aren't housed on the exchanges. And what the European Union wanted to pass was they wanted to pass a bill, which effectively what this bill would do is it would require any service provider, which is defined as an exchange or a financial institution that deals in crypto, to verify the information of non-custodial wallets. Now, previously there was a draft of this. Which asked people to collect information around non-custodial wallets. Now they're asking the exchange to verify the personal data from transfers made to and from an unhosted wallet. And specifically, if you look at the wording, it says you got to verify the accuracy of the information with respect to the originator or beneficiary behind the unhosted wallet. What does this mean practically? It means that if you're sending money to an account at an exchange, the exchange has to verify the identity of your MetaMask wallet. So if you're sending money from a MetaMask wallet to an exchange, the exchange has to KYC the MetaMask wallet. So it means that any transaction between an exchange and a non-custodial wallet, such as a MetaMask, would have to be verified. If the exchange is going to send money from the exchange to a wallet, they need to verify the holder of the wallet, and they need to do a KYC on the holder of the wallet. And this effectively means that any transaction between any unhosted wallet in Europe that is not strictly peer-to-peer, in other words, from one non-custodial wallet to another non-custodial wallet, would now require the exchange to conduct a KYC, and not only to conduct the KYC, but the wording which says verify means that you'd have to go through the entire KYC process where you'd probably have to do a liveness test and they could verify you. It also says it doesn't exactly say how a crypto service provider should be able to verify an unhosted counterpart. Now, if you think about what this means, it means that if you've got money on an exchange and you want to send money to off the exchange to a friend of yours, and the friend of yours is not an exchange client, then effectively the exchange now has to verify the identity of your friend's wallet, of your friend. So that means that your friend would have to do a KYC before you could send your friend money off an exchange. And what they're saying is that it's ludicrous. It's too much for crypto companies. It doesn't warrant that. The other amendment to this is that for any crypto transfer from an unhosted wallet over 1,000 euro, companies are obliged to inform competent AML authorities. So this means that any transaction, whether it is suspicious or non-suspicious, should be of over 1,000 euros, must be reported to the authorities. That means that if I'm sending you 1,000 euros or more, then they have to report that to the authorities. So it's now clamping down. It's not saying there was a version of this where they said only suspicious transactions. But the version that went and the one that was passed was one that said any transaction over $1,000 must be now reported to AML authorities. Then they said, thirdly, after 1 year into application, the EU will assess the need of additional specific measures to mitigate the risk posed by transfers from or to unhosted wallets, including more possible restrictions, which means that the European Union may actually be bringing in more restrictions about that. And they said, and the problem is that for crypto, they said, for everything else, it is $1,000 euros, but for crypto, there's no minimum thresholds, which means that effectively every single Satoshi, every single crypto transaction that took place, whether it be for $100, $10, or $1,000, would have to be reported to AML compliance, which sounds absolutely crazy. Now, it sounded so crazy that everybody got involved. Brian Armstrong got involved, but I think he got involved pretty late. He was sending out these documents on the 30th of March for a vote that was taking place on the 31st of March, which is a little bit late, I think, in terms of getting this whole thing done. Then we went live today on the show, and while we were live, we were waiting for the votes to be counted. The votes were then counted, and during my show earlier, if you didn't watch a show earlier, go and watch a show earlier, we got news that the Parliament, the European Union Parliament, voted in favor of the FTR compromises, DNE, that cracked down on unhosted wallet. The entire regulation is to be voted on later today, but will certainly go through. The breakdown of the vote and more updates, here they are. So the vote was passed, 58 votes for, 52 votes against, and 7 abstentions, so pretty close. And let's just see what else came out of it. So now what happens? After the vote today, the econ proposal will be announced in a plenary session, probably sometime in April. If no one challenges this by requesting a plenary vote, the trilogue between the European Parliament, the Commission, and the Council will start. This usually takes a couple of months. Individuals' voices from Council and Commission make me optimistic that we can still achieve changes, but the situation is undoubtedly more difficult than with the proof of work ban, which actually didn't get passed. Okay, then so he's liking it to actually losing a battle and not actually, we haven't actually lost a war, but we have lost a very serious battle because this is now been passed. Let's talk about what the outcome or what the implications of such a thread, of such a vote may actually be. The first thing is that you can now imagine that becoming a crypto service provider, specifically in Europe, becomes a lot harder because every transaction that you pay in and out of the account, you have to now do KYC. So that becomes a very expensive process. And it also becomes very difficult to start moving money around. So transactions between unhosted wallets, example exchange, would become way more costly and burdensome. Coinbase would be required to collect, store, and verify the personal information of the owner, of the receiver of the wallet, who's actually not even their client. So if you want to send your mom money and your mom's not a client of Coinbase, your mom now has to hold up her ID book and do a full KYC for Coinbase, and Coinbase now would have to store that data on their servers, which is unfeasible. It becomes unfeasible, and eventually what these exchanges might do is the exchanges may actually start banning transfers to non-custodial wallets because it just becomes cheaper and easier for them. Small crypto companies may even go as far as to not allow this. So we just said that. Anytime you receive €1,000 or more from an unhosted wallet like Coinbase, Coinbase would require you to report all your data to the AML authorities. So any crypto transfer of €1,000 or more, they have to report to the AML authorities. Who is this money from? Where did this money go to? What is the purpose of this money? It's starting to sound awfully like the banking system. Okay, that's one problem. The next problem, which for me is the much bigger problem, these institutions are now holding all your data. And what kind of data do they have? Well, they would have a picture of you. They'd have a picture of your mom. You'd have a picture of anyone that you sent money to, even though it's not their client. They would know how much money is being sent. They would know the address of non-custodial wallet. They would know the address of your non-custodial wallet. And so if this data ever gets compromised, and we know that data breaches happen a lot every single day, well, guess what? Your data is gone. And this is a big risk because effectively you'd be showing criminals exactly how much crypto you own, and they could start attacking you. Because right now, the addresses aren't linked to ID books or to passports. And so you've got the situation right now where hackers don't know who a wallet belongs to. And because they don't know who a wallet belongs to, they don't know who to attack or hack or phish. But if this regulation passes, and it has passed, but if we can't get out of it somehow, you're now going to have a database which is stored in some centralized entity, and we know we can't trust centralized entities. And you're going to have a database of all the custodial wallets and KYCs for every single one of them. Now, what a KYC usually has is it has a proof of address, it has your identity, and it's now linked your address and your identity to your non-custodial wallet. Just try and understand what this means. I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments. And Idan, if you are driving comments, maybe just get some of the comments on the screen, because I think it's crazy to think what this causes. Criminals see how much you hold. Let's just see what else. Okay, yeah. So I think so. So that's the biggest thing, and specifically $1,000 or €1,000 or more is a very very low account. All right, if people are saying it's unlawful, it's very lawful, because if the law gets passed, then that's the new law. So like it or not, that's the new law. Let's look at what happens next. So what happens now? The law has been passed. What happens? How long does this take to implement? How long have we got before this happens? What are the outs? What are the next exit points? So what happens next? So the regulation will now move to the trilogues, and that's when the Parliament and the Union and the Council, basic Commission Council members, will start voicing criticism. And then there may be some improvement, okay? But I don't think it's going to get completely abolished. There may be some improvement. Maybe the €1,000 will change to more, maybe less. Maybe it'll change. We don't know what it will be, but hopefully they can negotiate something along the way here. And there is a hope that they can negotiate, because it was quite close. It was quite close. Once they reach an agreement, which will take a couple of months, so call it 3 to 6 months, the regulation will be published in the official journal of European Union and enter into force on the 20th day following that. However, from that point, crypto businesses will have 9 months to adopt a rollout plan to carry out a phase-in implementation, and then they would have 18 months to phase in this whole implementation. So that's what happens next. That means that the regulation would come in best case scenario summer, autumn 2024. Okay. In the earlier draft, these numbers were 6 to 12 months respectively, so we bought ourselves some more time. 3 months after entry, the European Banking Authority will adopt and implement guidelines for companies. So then that happens 3 months after. And then a year later, they review the regulation and decide, including more possible restriction on transfer. So a year later, they may bring in more regulation. They don't say that they will remove some of the regulation. They may bring in more regulation. So why are we worried about this? Well, for one, it does start to dox people, and it does make people targets. And we know that data is a problem. For two, it greatly limits what you can do with staking and stuff like that, because now all transfers to all non-custodial wallets. Think about an exchange where you're staking your tokens and you're getting dividends, and you're getting your dividends into a non-custodial wallet. That means that now that non-custodial wallet has to be reported. So now every wallet will be identified. The bigger concern for me is that Biden has issued his executive order asking lawmakers in the United States to adopt rules. And I think, and I'm worried that the USA may look at Europe and set some kind of precedent because Europe was first. Hopefully, when the US regulators look at this, they'll say, look, Europe did this, and if we do less, then we become more competitive. But remember that the government's objectives are very different from our objectives. Our objectives are to remain anonymous, to protect our own wealth, to avoid being hack targets and stuff like that. For some people, it is to avoid taxation, but I think that net is starting to close. The government's objectives are for full transparency, so that they know where to get their taxes from and they know who's got how much money. And so effectively, either this can go one of two ways. One is it starts limiting the scope of cryptocurrencies and the impact of cryptocurrencies in Europe. And I think that is what the Bitcoin price is reacting to now. The other side of this coin, which may actually be a blessing in disguise, is that we may move much quicker to decentralized solutions. And so today, I guess what you should be looking at is, let's look at what happened to all the decentralized platforms. Now, the whole market is down, but effectively, things like Uniswap, all the decentralized exchanges, Astroport, UST, where you don't have to deal with exchanges. Anything that becomes peer-to-peer, theoretically, just became a whole lot more valuable, because we may move to a complete peer-to-peer environment. At this stage, they're not talking about peer-to-peer transactions. They're only talking about regulated exchanges, and they're saying that all exchanges are going to have to be regulated, and transfers from regulated exchanges to non-custodial wallets. So it does make the case, and it does push everyone towards a more peer-to-peer environment. So that is the one plus side, is that we may adopt decentralization much quicker. But remember, to get crypto on and off into your wallet, you've got to use regulated on-ramps and off-ramps. And so inevitably, this effectively tightens the control that governments have over crypto. Now, the question is, am I surprised about this? Absolutely not. I don't think, given the growth of cryptocurrencies and the amount of money that is moving around the world so quickly, that we should be surprised that governments actually want to clamp down on it. It doesn't make sense that when it comes to the banking system, every transaction is looked at. And when it comes to crypto, people are allowed to move money as much as they want, as quickly as they want, without governments having a look at it. And I think that this is a sign of the times. And we're going to have to start learning to live with regulation, And personally, I think that regulation may even get tighter and tighter and tighter. It doesn't make sense that we'll continue to operate in a world where we can move lots of money from place to place without government taking their cut and knowing where the money is going to. And the governments will disguise this in anti-money laundering and funding of terrorists and whatever else. But ultimately, remember what governments want to know. Governments want their money. Governments want their taxes. And they want to know where all the money in the world is. They want to know who's got the money. They want to know who to target. They want to know who the threats are, etc., etc. So that is it. I see I got Tentino here. Tentino.
Yo, brother.
Were you just logging in?
Yeah, I was having a look, but RSIs were high. We needed something for a dip. And I don't know what you're feeling. The chart's showing me that it's going to end up all good. Something's going to happen and it's going to be fine. And it was actually a good loading up zone. I think it's still going to be another day or two. But yeah.
Let's bring it back to charts. The charts told us that we were overheated. And everybody was calling for a slight pullback at some point. Nobody knew what the pullback was, but everyone said it was overheated. The RSIs and the RSIs were waiting for news. Now they've got the news. I thought that the markets would react a lot worse, but remember that we have a buyer in the market. We have Kwon, and I wouldn't be surprised if the market's saying, look, you've got Europe pulling you down on the one side, and you've got Kwon holding you up on the other side. And so there's this interesting tug of war that's going on. And I guess that now we're going to look at the white line, the trend line, because if we break that trend line, then we may start to go further down, right?
Yeah. So I'm still expecting that this was an initial quick reaction, and I'm sort of looking at price slowing down. So I think it's going to be a slow next 2 days or so. And this is a zone, we definitely want to be holding. But are we surprised? Look at ETH. Like, guys, we're having a small pullback. Like, you know what I mean? Look what the coins have done. Look what the market's just done. Markets were a little bit overheated. The main thing is they all finally broke the long-term trends. And that was the important one, to finally make the higher highs, to finally start breaking up. So we needed a short-term pullback, and let's update as we go. But I think it's going to pop by. I think we have 2 days of slow markets, and I think we're going to continue as normal. I think April's a bit for us.
Well, listen, as they said in their tweet, we lost the battle, but that's one battle in a very, very long war. And I think it would be foolish of us to plan for the loss of the war after having only lost one battle, with many appeal processes to go, negotiation processes to go. And ultimately, if you think about it, Europe is actually not such a big playing hub. I mean, we don't want this kind of regulation, but I mean, yeah. And it doesn't end crypto. It just makes it a little bit less private, and it's a little bit more inconvenient and more expensive. What's Carl saying?
These little things. What is Carl saying? Is he Carl? Bitcoin's down 1% or 2%.
All right,
cool,
we'll see you tomorrow. Cool, my bro. Chat later.
Cheers, brother.
All right, listen, Banter fam, much love to all of you. I'm going to get out of here. If you like this video, give us a like. That's all we're asking for. Tell me in the comments what you think. Have we lost the battle? Have we lost the war? And if you really, give us a like, subscribe to our channel. I'll see you guys again tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.